All right, guys, I think we are now live on the site. I want to welcome everybody to another weekly episode of Nomberg Law Live, and I'm so pleased to have veteran former Major League pitcher Chris Hammond with me as my guest this afternoon or this morning. How are you doing, Chris? And I sure appreciate you making a few minutes for us today.
Oh, I'm doing good down here in Mexico, enjoying time alone with my family.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I hope that the weather's treating you right and you're able to enjoy some family time during this time period. The reason why I've asked Chris to come on is he's still, he's retired from actively being in the game. He's still in the game. He's got a Wednesday evening Facebook Live show that we'll get back to in a few minutes with Brian Jordan, former Brave and Major League and NFL player, as well as Wes. They have guests on each week, so he is involved in the game, keeps his hand, and knows a lot of folks. And I want to talk about what we're going to talk about is the upcoming Major League Baseball season, and it's just unprecedented times. And who could predict a year ago we'd be where we are today? So I kind of want to get into that a little bit, but before we do, I didn't do a great job of introducing Chris. He hails originally from Vestavia, not far from where I am in Birmingham. Spent more than 15 years in Major League Baseball with several clubs, including the World Series '90 Cincinnati Reds, played for the Braves a little bit, and finished his career ultimately with the Reds. But Chris, tell folks before we jump into this, what are you doing these days when you're not on Facebook Live doing some shows?
Well, I do a lot of speaking in churches. Many years ago, I read 2 books on the Holy Spirit, and which really opened my eyes to what it means to be a Christian. And so I do a lot of speaking and challenging people. And I have a youth foundation that probably 25 years ago, I moved out to Wedowee, Alabama. And that little town had one little field and 15 teams shared it. And coming from Vestavia, I was like, "You serious?" I'm thinking, "Oh my goodness!" So we started a foundation that really helps underprivileged kids throughout the South get excited about sports and whatever lacking their little community or family or high school or anything like that is lacking. So and then I'm a individual business owner in a health and wellness company with Phil Knight, one of the owners, and these products are changing the lives across the board. So I'm excited about that as well.
Well, very good. I know that all of that seems to keep you very busy, so I'm glad you're getting a little downtime right now with family. And we've got the onset of opening of Major League Baseball is this Thursday. And it really is unlike any other prior season. None of us have certainly ever gone through a pandemic, much less trying to navigate professional sports, which are so important to so many people. And I want to get your first impression, Chris. How excited are you for opening day and coming up this Thursday?
Well, I've really, probably in the last 10 years, opening day, and everybody's like, "Man, you miss it." I'm thinking, I don't miss it at all. And but this is different. I feel like what the world is going through. I mean, it's crazy where you can say, in the past, like maybe Alabama is going through something or whatever, but the world and they're grasping for anything. On our little show that a few weeks ago, Brian Jordan says, he goes, "Man, I miss baseball so much. I've been waking up at 2 a.m. and watching Korean baseball on TV." And I'm thinking, man, I go, and then every week it's like, are we going to play or not? And then God forbid that owners or players would not play this season because of money.
Mhm.
And that's what I was concerned about, because man, I don't want to hate baseball because of the greed, the love of greed, because people are suffering across this globe. And I want baseball players, I want owners to give up a lot to give back, I guess, the world the game of baseball. So hopefully Thursday gets here, can't get here quick enough, and we can get back to playing some baseball. And it's going to be fun. I'm glad I'm not out there on the field, because it'd be tough not being able to spit seeds and chew gum and spit and high five and chest bump, but it's going to be fun to watch in that aspect. But I'm excited that baseball is right around the corner.
Well, it is going to be so, while many things will be the same, it's going to be so different. You're right, with all of the restrictions about what you can and cannot do, as simple or as much as we take for granted of just spitting seeds, or you're right, high five, those kind of things. But early in your career was during that time period where there was a strike in the 90s. And I can see your perspective that, and the general public who's not inside the game, just the general fan, I think for a long time is so disgusted by billionaires and millionaires arguing about money. But I think that the coming of opening day, they're going to have record-setting television watching. And I too am just so excited about this season. And I share Brian Jordan's sentiment. I've also woken up extremely early to watch KBO just to see some professional baseball and see how it works over there.
Well, I did the same thing. I mean, me and my son, he's a pitcher at Birmingham Southern, and he watches and studies baseball like no other. And we were watching that Korean baseball and just analyzing baseball. I mean, but I'm ready to get back to watching some guys that I know, and it's going to be exciting. Like I said, I can't wait for Thursday to get here quick enough.
Is speaking of your son at Southern, is Coach Weisberg still coaching over there?
He sure is.
He's been captain of that program for a number of years, and I know a bunch of local kids who have gone through their program and enjoyed their time playing for Birmingham Southern, and they've had some success over the years. So I hope that they get back at it when they can. Chris, have you seen this new cheer at the ballpark app that allows fans to cheer or boo into the stadium from the comfort of their home or wherever they may be?
That is pitiful.
Oh, it's
pitiful.
I guess it's just one way for fans to feel part of a game that they'd much rather be inside the stadium. But you're right, that's just going to be so weird. And I wonder if the Astros are going to receive more of their fair share of boos than other teams may.
I might not be the only one, but I hope they do a lot. I mean, I hope they.
That's true. And I don't think it's going to matter if they're on the road or if they're at home. They're going to get booed. But speaking of homes, I saw this week where Toronto has told the Blue Jays they cannot play their season in Toronto this year because of the fear of being exposed to other teams from hotspot cities. Have you heard or read where they may end up playing their home games?
No, I haven't. We've had, I guess when we had Andre Dawson playing, I mean, on our show a few weeks ago, I don't know if that was, it can't be the reason they were bringing up Montreal, but I haven't heard where they might be playing their games. I mean, really, if they're not the first part of the year, if they're not having fans, and they can pretty much play their games anywhere they want.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've heard that there's options potentially of sharing a ballpark, say with the Pirates or another Northeastern-based team, or maybe they're a AAA program up in Buffalo, but the lighting is substandard right now. Maybe their spring training home in Florida.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Wherever it is, they got to figure that out in a hurry because Thursday is.
It just adds to the story.
That's right. That's right. And I saw where the Braves are going to open up at the Mets this Friday night. And I've been to Citi Field. I've had the pleasure, if you will, of going to games as a fan in New York, and it's such a unique atmosphere. I've been to the new Yankee Stadium. It's not so new anymore. But reflecting back on your career, Chris, where were some of your favorite places to pitch?
Well, my favorite place to pitch was when the Astros were in the Astrodome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that field was so big, and I mean, I didn't fear getting behind 2-0 because if you throw it in the right place, they can hit it as hard as they can. And it's not going over the fence. And but that's back in the day when ballparks were just big. And my most feared place to pitch was Coors Field.
I'm sure that's the sentiment of many pitchers over there.
I had one of my worst games. I gave up 7 in the first inning. And the funny thing about it, took me out after 1. And the next game, I'm standing there by the pitching coach, and the starting pitcher gave up 4 in the first, 3 in the second, and the pitching coach looks over at me and he goes, "How's your arm feel?" I go, "I've given up enough runs on this road trip. I ain't going back out there." So I started laughing, but I've always, one of my favorite places to pitch is Wrigley, just because of the fans. I mean, the fans, they do their job of getting on players, but you laugh at it. And just like in San Francisco, I was in the bullpen there, and what those fans were yelling at me in the bullpen. I mean, I'm thinking, are you serious? I mean, there's kids in the stands. But I love Wrigley just because, they got on me for years, and they know my name, and they know me. I've been there for years, and whenever they get on to me, I'm laughing inside, and that's what it's all about.
Over the years with the advent of social media, and I guess fortunately you got out of the game actively before social media just exploded. I can only imagine if I'm a bullpen pitcher and I'm sitting in the bullpen, which I don't know if how many of them are actually exposed anymore where you're sitting, but certainly when you're warming up, they know everything about you. And
oh yeah.
The educated fans or the tech savvy fans, they're going to find who your high school girlfriend was, or just anything to pick on you about. Some of it, I'm sure, can be funny, but I'm sure it also can be quite.
Well, it starts off funny, and then it ends up like, are you serious? You got to get police coming over and throwing them out. I love hearing people rag on people, but when it just like we were in the White Sox playing them, and Mariano Rivera was pitching or warming up in the bullpen, and he kept looking up, and then he'd throw a few pitches and look up, and finally he went over to the guard, and the guard went up and got the people and threw them out. And he goes, the things that they were saying to me, I couldn't stand it anymore. Mm-hmm. And I go, that's where social media, and that's when it just started. And but nowadays, I was at my son's high school game, and those guys out in the outfield went up. You could tell they were on social media. Mm-hmm. Talking about their sister and his girlfriend, and I'm just like, but anyway, I'm so glad that I'm not playing in today's generation just because, I mean, I'm serious. When I played for the Yankees, we had so much fun in the bullpen that, I mean, I can't believe ESPN. I mean, this is before there was cameras all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of our guys, the grounds crew had a garden in our bullpen, and there was tomatoes, and one guy picked up a tomato and whizzed it across the bullpen and hit another guy in the leg, and it just splatted all over his uniform. And he goes, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Man, I got the 5th and 6th inning." And he had to run all the way to the clubhouse and change and run back. Nowadays, you're all over ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because somebody's video in the bullpen 24 hours, I mean, the whole game. And it's almost like you got to sit there like a robot. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can talk about that.
Fans will keep their phones running just to bait the player into saying or doing something just so they can go viral with whatever video they want to now put on TikTok or whatever app.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about the modern athlete right now. Not that you're ancient by any means, but I mean in the social media age, we over the last couple of weeks, several well-known players, Nick Markakis, Buster Posey, David Price, just to name 3 of I think maybe close to a dozen now, who have opted out of the season for various reasons, most notably family-related reasons. They're not going to play this year. And put yourself in the shoes of the current player, Chris, and would you ever have considered opting out because maybe you had a family member, maybe your wife was pregnant, you were concerned about that? And I'm not trying to be criticizing of any of the other players' decisions that have come out, but what a unique time for these players to have to make such a decision.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't ever opt out of a contract that I signed. I mean, unless it was like close to my last years, and I was just planning on retiring. I mean, if this is what's going to push me out, I'm going to retire now. But if I was in the beginning of my career, or in the middle, or in the 3/4 of my career, I mean, I'm totally against it. I mean, I don't care if you're thinking about your family. I mean, you're doing the same thing wherever you're at. I mean, you're not going to stay in your house 24 hours a day. I mean, that's just my thoughts. I mean,
well, Chris, they can't, unlike say the NBA that has the bubble, which there's only a limited number of teams. Obviously, each team is, it's just smaller in sheer numbers of people.
Right.
You can't really put a bubble over a Major League Baseball system like you can in the NBA. And
well, it's just like, I mean, if you're smart, you're going to do everything you can to keep yourself healthy and away from any. I mean, just like my life now. I mean, I wear a mask as much as I can. If I'm around the pool and it's just me and my family, I don't wear a mask. But I mean, their life's going to be no different than if they playing or not. And they're around the 26 to 30 guys every day. I mean, if nobody catches it, that's just my thoughts. I mean,
it really has become the pandemic is such a divisive issue, because no matter what your beliefs are, somebody else is going to believe differently. And with social media just being in your face 24/7, if you allow it, it really takes an emotional toll on anybody, whether you're a professional athlete or a lawyer or whatever you're doing. So it really is unprecedented times. Chris, I've got a couple of questions for you from folks who are watching. And I want to welcome whether you're watching us live or if you catch the replay. I'm with Chris Hammond, former Major League Baseball pitcher, had a wonderful career for many years with several teams, and ultimately came in with the Reds and went out with the Reds. And I want to start there. We've got a couple of questions from a buddy of mine. Dan wants to know, when you got drafted, Chris, do you remember that day or that time period of being contacted by the club? And can you take us through a little bit of that?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was laughing with my kids. I mean, probably 2 days ago by the pool, and we were talking about like what my grades were like in high school, and did I go to college, and I go, listen, I mean, I had the best mom in the world, and but she never asked me anything about school. She always like, Chris, you got any homework? I go, nope. And she goes, okay, get back to getting dinner ready or whatever. And I went outside and played either football, baseball, basketball, and that was my life. And when I went to college, I mean, I got a full scholarship to UAB baseball. In my first year, I didn't make my grades. I mean, and I wasn't surprised because I struggled through high school, and I went into college. But I went down to Gulf Coast Community College, and I played a fall season down there, and I pitched one game against South Alabama, and I pitched 8 innings and lost 1-0. And the Cincinnati Reds scout was there, and he goes, "I think we're thinking about drafting you." I'm thinking, and I was like really surprised. And a couple weeks later, it was after it was the tail end of our fall season, and I didn't make my grades, surprisingly, again. And they called me and they said, we drafted you. It was the last year of the winter draft, so you only had like 6 or 7 rounds, and they drafted me as a pitcher. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And even when he showed up at my house, he goes, well, we're only going to be able to give you $500. I'm like, for what? I mean, I had no earthly idea about signing bonuses or whatever. I was just so excited to get a chance to play baseball, and get into that. To me, if they would give the first round guy $1 million and no more, I mean, to me, there would be fire going out of the chute. Instead, just like me, I got $500 to sign. They're not going to send me home because I'm not giving it 110%. And so that was my kind of like my draft day, and then going into the season. And I mean, I was around first round draft picks, second round draft picks, and 2 weeks later, I got called up to single A, and all those guys were like, "What? They told me I was getting called up." I go, performance means a lot. And I mean, and then next year, I always got called up each year because I gave it everything I got. And that's what I tell kids today. And they're like, "Well, what kind of advice would you give a young kid?" I go, have fun, have fun playing baseball, and give it everything you got. And that's, I mean, that's about as good of advice that I can give anybody.
Well, Chris, we've all seen Bull Durham and all the baseball related movies when guys get the call. And do you remember where you were when you got the call, when you were reporting to Cincinnati?
Oh yeah. I heard that the Reds, all the Reds brass were coming down to Columbus to watch me play against the Yankees and Deion Sanders. Mm-hmm. And because I was like, I think I was 9-1 with a 1.9 ERA, and at that time, my goal was not to make it to the major leagues. My goal was to like I said, to get everything I got and have fun doing it. And that's what I was doing. My goal, that's what I tell, I mean, guys who just signed, don't make your goal to make it to the major leagues. Just give it everything you got and have fun doing it, and let the chips fall where they lie. Because when you set your goal to make it to the major leagues, if you have a bad year or a bad game, I mean, that might ruin you. But when you don't, you just take it in stride and look forward to the next game. Look forward to the next game. But that game in Columbus, we went into the ninth inning winning 1-0. And Deion Sanders led off the ninth. And I'm thinking, just keep him off the base. He hits one in the gap, and he is flying. He goes around second base, and the guy hadn't even picked up the ball yet.
Oh, boy. And
all of a sudden, he skids and runs back to second. He missed second base. So, short story shorter, I ended up getting out of that inning and pitching a shutout. And I remember Deion walking across the field and giving me a high five. He says, "Hell of a game, Hammond." And so after the game, our manager goes, "Hey, Ham, I need to talk to you when we get back to the hotel." And I'm thinking, what did I do? And so I walked in his room, and he's shaking his head, kind of like disgusted. And he goes, "Well, you're going to the big leagues tomorrow, son." And I'm just like, I sat there, I'm thinking, you can't be serious. So that was kind of my but the bad part about it was, for me to get called up with Cincinnati, they had to release Ken Griffey. So
made you a popular.
It was kind of bittersweet for me, because I know that the Reds fans were like, "What?" And it was all because of me.
Now, when you came back at the end of your career, I'm just trying to think from a timeline. Was Griffey Jr.? He wasn't with the team at that point, was he?
Yeah, he was on my team in Cincinnati. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I know he was on the tail end of his career at the time as well, and being I want to say, did he go to Moeller? Somewhere in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think he did.
Just being a hometown guy, I couldn't imagine it being any better of a situation playing for your hometown. And we've been kind of bouncing around a little bit, Chris, and I appreciate your time. But I want to come back toward the end. We're toward the end of the conversation, but I want to come back about the current teams and what's going on through the mindset of the modern athlete, the guys who are on the field and putting it out there. Is it really a concern for them about COVID-19, about the virus while they're competing? You know, I would assume that one of the best traits a professional athlete must have is to be able to be laser focused on his or her craft. And with the virus out there, does that creep in to the mindset of the ball players? Now, I've been watching some of these preseason games, and it doesn't appear to be that way. But take us into that mindset a little bit, if you can.
My big thing is, once the game starts, I guarantee 100% of the players don't even think about this virus, because that's like it being in the zone. But you have to prepare yourself just like a golfer prepares for himself on the range. You got to prepare yourself. Where are you going to put your glove? I mean, what kind of precautions are you going to have for your stuff? And just like we talked about at first, if you prepare and take precautions and keep yourself clean as much as you can, that's all we can do. I mean, whether you're on the field or at the office or playing golf or even at your house. I mean, that's why I'm kind of disappointed that so many guys are opting out of this year. I mean, if they take precautions, just like we should wherever we're at, I mean, play the season. And to me, if if salaries wasn't so high, they'd be playing. And if you look in your bank account, you get $30 million in the bank, and you're going to go, well, if I sit out this year, I'm just going to lose $5 million. I mean, what do you? I mean, that's why I feel like the game has changed with this when the salaries are so high that over a 10-year period, some guys gonna make $500 million. I mean, I don't.
It really does seem like it's taken away from some of the purity of the sport, but it is what it is. It's a modern time.
It is. It is.
Now, with the risk of, I know you played in both leagues. I know you played for several teams, and with that risk, Chris, do you have any favorites to reach the World Series? Do any of these teams look stronger than others right now?
Well, I think every year when you look at probably in the last 5 years for sure, when you look at the Yankees, I mean, if injuries don't, I mean, it's every year. I mean, and if you're a Yankee fan, you'd be disgusted because of the injuries. But I mean, I don't see a team that can score at will like the Yankees. But I mean, in this short sprint to the finish line, those guys are going to have to play every day. And I mean, I don't wish injuries on anybody, but I think it's going to be inevitable that the Yankees are going to run into the injury bug again. But we're going to have to see.
And what about on the other side of the diamond? What about the National League? Anybody stand out more than others right now? I know everybody's in first place. But,
well, I mean, I've always pulled for the Braves the last few years just because they have a young team that's just, I mean, fun to watch. And if they got a few additions to their team and they got a few good pitchers to add to their pitching staff. I think I'm gonna pull for the Braves this year.
Well, I saw that Puig didn't meet the criteria because he tested positive, but they signed, I think it was maybe Matt Adams yesterday, brought him back. But like anything else in professional sports, injuries are gonna control success a lot of times. If you're a pitching coach, if you're in charge of a major league pitching staff roster right now, and you've only got 60 games to do it in, does that change your philosophy and how you're going to approach this season with how you treat or utilize your pitchers?
Well, I think the first month is going to be crucial. I mean, I don't think. I mean, I know if I were pitching, I mean, I would go right into the season ready to pitch 7 innings because during this little layoff, I mean, I'd be acting like this is a season because I mean they're jumping right into the 3/4 of the way through the season right out of the chute, and if you're not ready as a pitcher, I mean, you're only hurting your team. You're not hurting yourself. You're hurting your team, and so I feel like as a pitching coach, I mean, you're almost going to have to baby the pitchers the first month of the season or the first half of the season because if you get hurt right at the half of the season, you're done. I mean, you go on the DL, you're coming back maybe at the last week of the season. So I feel like that I wouldn't want to be a pitching coach, but I really feel like they're going to really watch them at least the first 3 weeks, the first 3 or 4 starts, and but it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, like I said, it's not going to be a marathon. It's going to be a sprint. Yeah. And if your slump is bigger than the next guy's, you're done. There's no time to build it and come back and even if you make a run, it's not going to be worth it. But like I said, I can't wait to watch it.
Well, the other factor here is if any of the players, if they test positive, they're going to miss a good chunk of the season just right there, at least a 2 week span. So I guess there's an extra onus on the players to remain safe and do the best that they can so they don't test.
I heard a lot of the Braves fans saying, "I'm glad Freddie went ahead and got his out of the way."
Yeah, I just hope that this isn't the type of disease or condition that just because you had it once doesn't mean you can't get it again. I hope that's not the case, but I'm glad Freddie's back. And anyway, last thing I want to hit on, Chris, before I let you go, is you and Brian and Wes have a very quickly gaining in popularity Wednesday night Facebook show. And you've had some monster guests on these first few weeks. So I want you to tell us about the show and the program and what it's about, because I want others to find it.
Well, it's just like any. I mean, while we're excited about sports coming back, and when baseball's, you didn't know if we're going to play baseball or not. And Brian Jordan, he's part of our pure team, and he's like, why don't we do a Facebook Live? I'm thinking, what in the world's that? And he goes, I'll put everything together, and we'll do an hour-long show and talk pandemic, talk baseball, talk basketball, whatever sports that we need to talk about, and we'll have guests on. And I'm thinking, are you serious? And he started it first Wednesday night. We had a ball. We had probably 3,000 views, and I'm thinking, this could be huge. And so the next week we had another guest, and it just started getting bigger and bigger. And we had Andre Dawson and Dale Murphy on 2 weeks ago. We had Chipper Jones on last week. We got Ozzie Smith on tomorrow night. But all you got to do is look up Brian Jordan or myself or Wes Letson Facebook page and just log in or just watch it.
Chris, I'll put a link to the show in the show notes here, so folks who are watching this can easily find it. Well, Chris, I sure appreciate your time and sharing your expertise and your experiences with us about baseball and life in general. So thank you very much for spending some time with us today.
Well, I enjoy fellowship with anybody, and I appreciate you having me on the show, and maybe we can do it again one day.
I hope so. And guys, thank you for tuning in for another weekly episode of Nomberg Law Live, talking with former veteran Major League pitcher Chris Hammond, and just talking about life and baseball. And I hope you guys continue to be safe out there and use common sense. And we will catch you another time on this show next Tuesday. Y'all be well. Take care.